one thing I used to always say, like I used to not believe in any of these conspiracies. And I'd say, why would they lie? That was always the thing I would say is, why would they lie? Like, that makes no sense. Like, why would you fake that? Why would you do a 9/11? Like, why would you do that? And there's reasons, and the reasons are pretty dark and pretty demonic. And so that opened me up to saying, okay, I might have to be responsible for my family's food. Okay, well, I have to figure out how to farm, because I couldn't trust, Pockets of the Future has a great YouTube channel, and he was talking about how you have to read the ingredients now. It's like this metaphor for all of life as a truther, where it's like before you never had to read the ingredients. You're just like, why would anyone want to hurt me? And now you have to like read the ingredients. And that's how I am with every news event. It's like, read the ingredients. Why are they doing that? And people are like, well, why would they want to traumatize you? I'm like, it's just a way to make slaves. Trauma, fear. And then people just look, you create like this Stockholm syndrome, where you look to the dominant force, which would be the corporate banking state apparatus. And you're like, help me, save me, daddy. And so that's why trauma makes the clown world go round. And that's why, to see them start on kids, I'm like, oh, there's some real evil in this world. And when you see evil, you have to realize that there's also real good in this world.
All right. Well, everyone, let's just start off by saying, how goes the battle with everyone in the chat? I'm gonna get into the Owen Benjamin clip in a bit. It was a good segue, or at least a good introduction. The fear makes the clown world go around, Stockholm syndrome, and the election results out of Quebec last night. There we go. It was said, I'm sad in Quebec at the moment. Tam pow pow. Well, we're going to do a follow-up on yesterday's stream, because yesterday was the summary of the situation in Quebec and Canada. And today is the results of the election in Quebec. What's the word I'm looking for? A decisive majority victory from Supreme Leader François Legault's tyrannical, charter rights violating government. It seems, make people live in enough fear, they'll actually re-elect you for the trouble. You may have noticed, people, today is a promotion. This is a, what does it say when you start this stream? That says contains a paid promotion. I got a sponsor for this video now. And it's a sponsor that I'm actually using as well in real life. So it'll make it very easy to do the sponsorship for. We're going to get to it in a bit. It's called Home Title Lock, and it's not a joke. It's $20 a month, and I actually use it because it's the Wild West in the States, but in Florida in particular. But let's just get started on the news of the day, the items of the day. We're going to go over the Quebec election results. We're going to talk about some of the responses. Pierre Poilievre congratulating François Legault, looking forward to working together with him. We'll get there. Donald Trump suing CNN. We're going to walk through the lawsuit. I don't think it's going to go very far if we're applying the Tucker Carlson, Rachel Maddow standards. If we're applying the Alex Jones standards, my goodness, CNN's going to be bankrupt. But we're not. I think in the context of this lawsuit, it's going to be more the Tucker Carlson, Rachel Maddow defense. CNN is commentary. Nobody takes it as a matter of fact. They can have whichever guests they want, say whatever they want. If they were to apply the Alex Jones standard, CNN is going to be held liable for every guest they have on their channel. They'll be put through a discovery process that is impossible to satisfy, resulting in a default judgment which will bankrupt CNN, preclude CNN from raising any defenses whatsoever in the context of that lawsuit. People are shocked in Quebec. How can they be shocked? 41% of them voted for this. 41% of these 66% of the population of the eligible voters that voted for this. Someone said gold. No, not today. Not today. Although American Hartford Gold is still going to be a company that I'll gladly have as a sponsor. With the neurotic individual, even going through a sponsorship is a difficult thing for me. Someone says it's not live on Rumble. It is. Refresh your page because I've refreshed it and we're live. Everybody should go watch Alison Morrow's interview with Owen Benjamin. I know what I think of Owen Benjamin. I know what I thought of Owen Benjamin, and I watched the entire interview. And now I can safely say that I might have to go back and revisit some of the things that I thought about Owen Benjamin. It won't change some of the other things that I do think about Owen Benjamin. And the interview itself is revelatory for who Owen Benjamin is as a person. And, chemistry-wise, how he's built, how he responds to certain things, and philosophically. But everybody should go watch that interview because there was an interesting exchange. Let me just get this off here. There was an interesting exchange between Alison Morrow, who's a former journalist, and Owen Benjamin when Alison Morrow pulled up a Reddit post to ask Owen Benjamin questions on it. And Owen Benjamin, I think, responded somewhat aggressively, reflexively. You could tell that in Owen Benjamin's response, there was a lot of life experience, and I'll dare say, resentment and anger built up in his response that was projected onto the person asking the question. But then I did understand Owen Benjamin's objection to being questioned on some random anonymous post in Reddit that lists a slew of, throw the spaghetti at the wall of accusations. And then every time Owen Benjamin does an interview, he's got to respond to people questioning him. It might be their first time asking him these questions, but I presume with Owen Benjamin, and it's the lesson I learned with Michael Cernovich, it's not the first time for them. And I remember Cernovich saying, when I was doing what I thought was my due diligence, asking the hard questions of Cernovich, people say there's clips of you saying offensive things on the internet. How do you respond to that? And Cernovich was very, very polite with me and very patient with me. And I hope it's because he saw the genuine, good-natured manner in which I was asking these questions, said, this just gets very tiresome. It just gets very old. I've answered these questions 100 times. If I do this with every interview, then every interview consists of, it might be your first time asking these questions, but it's my 50th time answering them. Okay, Owen is a flat earther. Yeah, dude, okay. You know what I think? I don't have any fundamental problems with someone who thinks the earth is flat. It's a crazy thing. I don't have any fundamental problems with someone who thinks we never went to the moon. I could even go one step further. It might shock some people, but I don't even have any fundamental problems with people who espouse other conspiracy theories, which I radically disagree with, which I think are totally far-fetched and outlandish. I don't even have problems with them for espousing those beliefs. Someone thinks the earth is flat. Okay. Does that mean that they are not good cooks? Does that mean that they are defaulted out of every other aspect of life because they happen to hold one belief, which I think is totally untenable? No. Now, some of the more offensive things people say, which illustrate, I'm not saying offensive in the sentimental, problematic beliefs. That's a separate issue. Flat Earth, didn't go to the moon, 15 shooters in JFK, certain historical events never happened or didn't happen the way they happened. Hey, I'll even listen to somebody tell me about that. I won't necessarily try to get into the game of convincing them that they're wrong or why I'm right, but I got no problem with that. I know what I think of Owen Benjamin and his progression over time. Watching that interview with Alison Morrow gave me some insight into him as a person and to certain issues at large. One of which was dealing with trolls. There was a great section from it. I was going to post the clip, but it might have some naughty language where Owen Benjamin's like, I feel like at some point you just have to stop feeding the trolls. Whereas initially, reflexively, especially for someone who espouses free speech principles like myself, you say, I got to respond to them. They've made a claim and I want to retort and correct, when you're never going to ever make any headway with them. And then you feel this compulsion to respond, where it becomes a consuming force and a distraction from what you ought to be doing. And it was a very, very, very insightful point. There's people who believe a lot of wacky things. I won't entertain some of them just because I so radically disagree with them. They can still say them. I'm just not going to. I'm not going to get involved with it. So that's it. Rumble is messed up, by the way. Let me go see. Rumble looks fine to me. We are 2,000 people on Rumble. The chat is Owen Benjamin is a total backstabbing psycho from. I also don't get into personal drama. But anyhow, what was I going to say? So Quebec. We'll do the Quebec, then we'll do the ad. Then we'll move over to Rumble. Then we'll talk about the lawsuit, Donald Trump's lawsuit, and other things. So we had our elections in Quebec, people. And 66.06% of the population voted. And by the way, when I said I was having technical issues at the beginning of this stream, StreamYards changed the share icon, share screen, to present. So I didn't know where the share screen went. Now it's present screen. And I'm going to go to Twitter. So no one accuses me of being a number. Again, people believe in gematria, these things like play with numbers. You can find all sorts of patterns. I got no problem with people who believe in that. Sometimes it's even, when it's synchronicity type coincidence, it's funny. So when we have what I believe to be something of a demonic result, I'm saying demonic in a colloquial sense, when we have what I think to be very unpleasant results, tyrannical results of an election, and you go to look at the numbers, and it just turns out that 66.06% of the Quebec population voted. Yeah, that's funny. I don't think it's inspired by the devil. I don't think any Dominion chicanery went on. What they say was Dominion chicane. People voted. I've run for office, for federal office in Canada. We don't have what people accused Dominion of having in Canada. I don't even adhere to those beliefs in the States. I think the way that they go about influencing the election is exactly the way they described it in that Time magazine article. Control information, change rules and laws, at least in the States. This is what they described in the Time magazine article. But in Canada, in Quebec, control the media, control the free flow of information, demonize every political adversary, and offer money to people, literally, and they'll vote for you. And don't take my word for it. Let's just watch this while I take a sip of my Perrier Yerba Mate.
Jour de vote partout au Québec. Il n'y a rien de joué. J'ai besoin de votre vote. Chaque vote va compter. J'ai une équipe qui est prête à vous servir. J'ai envie de vous servir. Si on est réélu, on va, dès le mois de décembre, vous envoyer un chèque de 4 à 6.
Si on est élu dès le mois de décembre, as of December, I'm going to send you a check of your own money if we get elected.
$100. Les personnes âgées vont recevoir un 2000 de plus. On va aussi baisser les impôts.
Why can't you do that before? Why couldn't you have done that? It doesn't matter.
Donc, vous pouvez compter sur moi, mais je compte sur vous lundi.
And I know people who, there's people who say, he's doing the devil horns with his fingers.
Lundi.
Literally promising money. Anyhow, he was reelected. And it highlights certain issues with our electoral system, but it was just funny. 66.06% voted. And the results. We have a first past the post system in Quebec and Canada. First past the post means whoever gets the most votes in any riding wins the seats, even if it's not an absolute majority. So, federally speaking, 338 federal ridings. Each riding is first past the post. Whoever gets the majority of the votes in that riding wins the riding. In theory, you could have a government that is 100% one party, even though they only got 35% of the vote in any given riding. Even if they only got 35% of the popular vote, to put it that way. So in Quebec, there's 125 seats of the National Assembly. The Coalition Avenir de Québec, the one in the upper left here in the blue, the CAQ, they've got 90 seats. They get 90 of 125 seats, which is about 75% of the seats, even though they only got 41% of the vote. PLQ, which is the Parti libéral de Québec, the Liberal Party of Quebec, they only got 15% or 14.37% of the total vote. They got 21 seats. That's sort of more proportionate. Québec Solidaire, which is another political party, got 15.42% of the vote, more than Parti libéral, but they got half as many seats. Parti Québec, Parti québécois, PQ, Parti québécois, they got 14.6%, more than the Liberal Party. And they got a seventh as many seats. And then you got the Parti conservateur de Québec, Éric Duhaim's party. They got nearly 13% of the vote. almost as much as the Liberal Party, Parti Libéral, who got 21 seats. They get 0 seats. So now what you have is 13% of the Quebec population that is just outright not represented in the Quebec Legislative Assembly. That's a problem. Now, some people are saying, "Oh, the CAQ got reelected, but 59% of the population voted against them." Wrong. There's very little difference, if any, between the CAQ, the Parti libéral de Québec. What was the other one? Son of a gun. There's virtually no difference between Québec solidaire, CAQ, Parti libéral de Québec, Parti québécois. There's very, very little difference. So what you have basically is people voting for their own leaders who are vying for control. But you basically have 87%, let's say 86% of Quebec voting for a variation of the same party. You remember when they had that the vote on Bill 15 to strip parents of parental authority, parental supremacy under the Youth Protection Act? Unanimous. All of these different parties unanimously voted to amend the Youth Protection Act to remove parental supremacy as the overarching guiding principle. Oh yeah, but they're different. They're totally different parties. So what's absolutely shocking is that 41% of the population voted to re-elect François Legault, Supreme Leader, Sunset Thief. And I did a little Locals exclusive stream beforehand, and I told them I went to bed angry, and I woke up angry. And I would say angry like mad, angry like disappointed, angry like... I'm sitting here wondering now, sincerely, am I the crazy person? I know a lot of you are going to laugh at that. It's like, look at this. I'm sweating in my armpits. That's embarrassing. Why did I do that? A lot of you are going to laugh at that. Am I the crazy person? People are going to look at me and say, yeah, of course, you've been crazy for a long time. People have been telling you that. I'm not crazy. But when I look at a population that re-elected the man, the party, who has been abusing them, and I'm saying this like constitutional abuse, psychological abuse, economic abuse, they re-elect that man? Am I the crazy one for having a problem with it? Uneducated, yes. Crazy, no. If I'm uneducated, am I the crazy one? Should I just get used to it? Am I wrong for objecting to it? I mean, if everybody else has no problem with it and they vote for it back in office, maybe I'm the one who has a problem for having a problem with it. And so that's the results. You know, we had federal elections last year. It was a slim majority. It was a slim minority that Trudeau got reelected by. Like he got like 23% of the votes, something along those lines. 41% of Quebec. I mean, when you think that old people are the ones who vote in the highest numbers, hey, well played, Machiavelli. Promising them $400 to $600 plus $2,000. That's one heck of a way to buy some votes. Let's see if he does it. Oh, it'll be classic if he never actually does it. But then you have, where I have some other big problems, Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre comes out and says, let me bring this tweet out. Congratulates him. He congratulates him because politics is politics and you have to congratulate the victor. There's a way to do it. There's a way that it should be done and there's a way that it could be done. And there's a way that I would do it, which is probably why I would never have any meaningful success in politics. Pierre Poilievre comes out and says the following. Here, share. Congratulations, Premier François Legault, on another decisive mandate from the Quebec people. That's depressing. I look forward to continuing our work together for the people of Quebec and Canada. I look forward to continuing our work together. So where I might have stopped here is if I were writing this, and I'm going to write it to needle somebody because I am, as the shirt says, nonetheless, maybe someone would say I'm a troll, but an honesty troll. I'd say congratulations on another decisive mandate from the people of Quebec. You should know that the people of Quebec cannot mandate you to violate certain charter rights. I look forward to ensuring that you respect the Constitution in your governance, and rest assured that if you do not respect the Constitution, the Charter of Rights, I if I ever make it to federal leader, will see to it that provincially we respect charter rights. Something along those lines. It would have to be shorter to fit into Twitter. But no, he says, I look forward to working together, to our work together. Now, it's funny. I had a reply to that, which is now getting buried down here. This is a reply to Pierre Poilievre. You know, it's nice that Pierre talked the talk once upon a time. This is the walk. And his walk now is, I'm going to work with the guy who imposed unconstitutional lockdowns, unconstitutional curfews, in my humble opinion, unconstitutional and inhumane vaccine passports. Supreme Leader Legault imposed unconstitutional lockdowns, curfews, and vaccine passports, to name a few. You stand against these things. How exactly are you going to work together? Someone to that said, I'm going to just drop this out now. I don't think we need to see the rest, but how's that going to happen? Someone in response to that said, Viva, Legault got the mandate. The people of Quebec voted. And I said, you can't get a mandate to violate the Charter of Rights. Like, it's not because you got a mandate to enslave a portion of your population that you can enslave a portion of the population because that was your platform that you ran on and you got the mandate, so all good. No, you can't get a mandate to violate charter rights, constitutional rights, and the law. So the mandate, in as much as 41% of the population did in fact give Legault a mandate for something, you can't give a politician a mandate to break the law. Then the person with whom I'm exchanging, it's a sincere back and forth, says, well, you know, he'll just use the notwithstanding clause in the Canadian Charter of Rights. That's section 33 that stipulates a government can specifically violate certain rights guaranteed under this charter if they do so specifically under a provision of law that is duly passed that cannot exceed a term of 5 years. There is this thing called the notwithstanding clause in the Charter of Rights. It was in there because when they unified, or when they redid the Constitution, provinces wanted to make sure that they would not be effectively governed by the Supreme Court of Canada. And so they inserted this notwithstanding clause to be used with the utmost of parsimony would be an understatement of the decade. Exceptional remedy. If a province like Florida, if a province like Quebec wanted to enact certain language laws, which prima facie would violate certain language rights, well, the province said, we want to retain that power to govern without being subject to the de facto governance of the Supreme Court of Canada. So insert this notwithstanding clause. We can deviate or violate certain rights under the Charter if we specifically enact legislation that specifically says we are violating a specific charter right. It can only be done under certain conditions for certain periods of time. And if the population doesn't like it, they vote those people out of office. So I said, there are certain charter rights that cannot be the object of the notwithstanding clause, one of which is mobility rights, which is why in Brian Peckford's charter challenge, they went after mobility rights in particular, because that is one of the provisions of the charter, from my understanding, and from what was explained by Keith Wilson, the lawyer, that cannot be deviated from, violated by the notwithstanding clause. So a government cannot say, notwithstanding your rights in the charter, we are preventing you from being able to move freely within the country. You can't do that. So there are certain charter rights which cannot be violated under the notwithstanding clause. So mandate or no mandate, that's the law. Secondly, if your goal is to hold a tyrant's feet to the fire, you would act in such a way to compel them to invoke the notwithstanding clause as often as they think necessary to govern in the manner that they want to govern as a tyrant. Notwithstanding your rights, we're doing this. You would want to make them invoke that as many times as possible so it's on the record. You don't want to let them skirt around actually doing it and just go do it by order in council or by health decree. Hold their feet to the fire. That's what opposition does. So if you're going to work together with François Legault, I'll work together with you to make sure you respect the Charter of Rights. And if you're going to deviate from it, violate the rights guaranteed in it, I'm going to make damn sure it's on paper that you've invoked the notwithstanding clause however many times you think you're going to invoke it. Okay. Now I think I see people in the chat. I don't know. Okay, I can't tell if these are complimentary reads. I think they are. Sergeant Pepper. with a guitar. So that's that. Now I'm extremely self-conscious about the sweat under my armpit. I should have worn the black shirt. You can't see sweat on a black shirt. That's what's going on in Quebec and Canada. They voted. They've re-elected François Legault with a decisive majority government. I don't believe that there was any chicanery. I don't believe you don't need to get into the complex methods of rigging elections when you can just use the media, your power to buy votes, your power to manipulate, your power to instill fear. You don't need to go to the complex system when you could just manufacture consent in a manner that is totally lawful. Yeah, that entire Time magazine article was a description of manufacturing consent. Change rules, change laws, control the flow of information, deplatform people, demonize other people, use the media to do it. You do not need to go to the complex methods of overt rigging when you can just use the methods that already exist, are time-tested and true. All right. And now it's time for the sponsored video. So this is not a joke, by the way. I actually use home title lock. We came down to Florida. It's the Wild West out here. Health insurance, car insurance. Insurance is up the wazoo. Like someone's reaching up hand over fist and just taking stuff from you. I was notified that there are potential risks that I was not aware of in Canada about people not changing the deed, like not saying I hitherto am the owner of this property, get out, it's mine, but people borrowing against other people's property. And I don't know how it works. And I didn't think it was a real thing until I get this request to say Home Title Lock wants to work with you. I was like, why do I even need to worry about this stuff? So I call our home insurance guy and he says, yeah, in Florida, and it might be a states thing, but it's certainly a Florida thing. They literally, one of the methods of fraud is to borrow money against other people's homes by pulling their deed from the registry, forging it, going to a bank, borrowing against it, and then you wake up with a certain amount of money borrowed against your house. And I double checked with my insurance guy and he said, it's an actual thing. Home Title Lock. Do I share the screen? Oh, they used an old picture of me. Hold on, let's do this here. Present. Home Title Lock, $20 a month. And how does it work? And I'm using it, people. I think it's /Viva. Home Title Lock /Viva. I think that's it. If we just delete all of this. It's a real thing. So $20 a month. And the way it works, as has been described to me, which is why I'm using it, is that if someone pulls your deed, you'll get notified. And then there will be something of a freeze or a lock where they will not be able to borrow against the deed. So you'll get notified if someone goes to the registry and pulls a deed, and you'll get notified if, in theory, somebody gets even further than that and tries to borrow money against your house, and they'll freeze it so that it can't be done. $20 a month. Now, I know Rich Dad, Poor Dad says a house is not an asset. I'm going to disagree with him in that it's not an asset in the sense that it doesn't generate revenue, but it is an asset in the sense that it accrues revenue, accrues value. And you don't want people borrowing against your house, and then you wake up with having to repay an amount that someone borrowed against your house by forging your name on a document. Home Title Lock, and there was something else. Hold on 1 second. I'll get better at this one of these days. No, I think that's it. Oh, if you go, you'll get enter your address hold on 1 second. Let me make sure I read this right. You make sure your home's title is securely in your name. You go to the Home Title Lock, which is actually what I did, hometitlelock.com/Viva, promo code Viva. You enter your address for free, no obligation. That's $100 value, apparently. And you'll find that out, and then it's $20 a month, and you can cancel at any time. And you'll get a notification if someone tries to go, pull your deed to borrow from your house, and screw you. It's like the Wild West in Florida. The car accident litigation capital of the world, from what I understand, which explains the car insurance prices. Liability insurance, hurricane insurance, it's out the wazoo, but Home Title Lock. Okay, that's done. We're done. Good. And now I think we're going to wind this down and go to Rumble after I read these super chats. And I'll put the link to Home Title. I think I already did, but I'll put it in there afterwards. The elect Quebection was rigged. RCMP investigate. The success marketing and web design. If you have some evidence, go give it to the RCMP. They don't need to rig the elections. I did this. They don't need to rig it in the sense that people were accusing Dominion of having done in the States. It's paper. There's ID. There's two points at which you have to verify your address against a utilities bill or a valid piece of it. That's not how they're rigging it. How they're rigging it, you get François Legault coming out promising you money. Democracy needs limits to protect against MAGA. Oh, I think I understand the way you meant that, not a banned account. And by the way, not a banned account. I think I saw you also yesterday on Jimmy Dore. Maureen Olivier, $10 says, I'm sad that Quebecers believe he handled the pandemic well when he killed our seniors and Quebec has the highest death rate from COVID in Canada. I want out. That's the other thing. It wasn't even as though what he did helped. Quebec had the worst rates, among the worst rates in Canada. I don't know who was worse between Quebec and Ontario. Long-term healthcare facilities hit hard. He mangled. And then he goes and imposes an unscientific, unconstitutional curfew. And you vote 41% of people who voted him back in. And no, I don't believe it was rigged in any technical sense, like votes, whatever. No, people just voted for it. Well, who else am I going to vote for? Parti Québécois or the Québec Solidaire. They want to be independent. I'm not going to vote for them. Oh, the Parti Libéral, they're too liberal. Oh, the Parti Conservateur, they're crazy conspiracy theorists. Our country has a charter of rights, and it's what's the word? It's crafted effectively like mutatis mutandis, the U.S. Constitution. It's from the power of God. The word God appears in there. We have a charter of rights. It's not a constitution in the U.S. sense, and we certainly don't value it the way some Americans value the Constitution as a, what's the word? Not a sanctimonious, as a quasi-religious love for it. What's the word I'm looking for? Not sacrosanct. Sacrosanct? Is that the word? Sacrosanct? Anyhow, all right, let's do this. I'm going to move on over to Rumble. We have a couple of Rumble rants. Move on over to Rumble. Link is here. And we're going to go over a few more things there. So people, let's do this. We're moving from YouTube, heading over